What's up guys, I'm Phoenix Master 1 and welcome to my unit review and builds guide for the last 4 Hounds member Griss that has been added into the game. He is a really good free-to-play unit and he is a green infantry mage with Nova as his 9 might tome. So this is a player phase brave weapon and he has got 47 base attack. So he's going to be hitting really hard in the player phase, and this weapon also has +3 attack built in it, so it is essentially a 12 might brave weapon, which is not bad for a free-to-play unit. And then he has got Canto Ally 5 built in this weapon. So this is the first time that we have seen Canto Ally 5 on a unit. We have seen other kinds of Canto on the Thief banner, but not this one. So basically after any kind of action, you're able to Canto to a space adjacent to any kind of ally in 5 spaces. And this is really nice for freeing him up from running Sigurd Ring. I mean, you could still run Sigurd Ring to get the +1 movement, which can help you if you face the warp blocking. And when you have 2 different kinds of Canto, you also have the 2 options of retreating, either with the Sigurd Ring's Canto or this weapon's Canto. And Canto Ally 5 does work with the Lin Ring, so it is pretty fantastic thing that he has got built in his weapon. Not a lot of infantry units have Canto built in their weapon, and then he has got Emblem Celica Ring Warping built in this weapon. So he doesn't even need Celica Ring because he can already warp like it, and this is going to be reminiscent of chapter 20 where Griss just tries and ambush you with Celica Ring and can be really threatening. So now we have got a lot of warp blocking with barricade, higher ground, lower ground and stuff like that, so you would need to watch out for that. So it's not completely free thanks to the Emblem Celica Ring itself, which has been a menace for almost a year, but Griss can do it by default, and this can help you just have much better movement than any kind of other free-to-play mage. And you also have Canto to retreat, and then at sort of turn on the closest foes and foes in 2 spaces of them, he can debuff them for -7 attack and resistance and the sabotage debuff. So this is not any kind of resistance check, he just does it, and this is fantastic for the support and also for getting more damage output. And sabotage effect is one of the better status effects, and Griss can easily stack up many status effects that he could inflict on the enemy, so that can benefit him and his allies. And then if he has got any kind of bonus, or if the foe has got any kind of penalty, then in the combat he's going to be getting extra attack and resistance based on 20% of his visible resistance +6. So he has got base 48 resistance with a super boon. So this is going to be anywhere from 17 to 19 depending on your investment. It is not really all that hard to do with his high resistance, and keep in mind that he gets the extra stats for himself. So for triggering something like Glacies, the extra resistance does help him tremendously. And compared to the 4 Hounds that we have gotten in FEH, I would say that Griss is the second best one. The best one is still Marnie in my opinion. Griss is good, but Marnie is insane, and you'll be seeing her in every single arena match if you play arena, seriously in any kind of capacity. So cannot avoid her, and she is a menace in the game. She's also the most plussed and merged unit in the game officially, as revealed by FEH's official Twitter account. And then we have got Zephyia, who doesn't really get a lot of stat debuffs on the enemies, but still she can easily panic, and she is a mage flyer. Mavier unfortunately has to face the competition being in a Lance Cavalry type, and we have gotten Lance Cavalry units that can also support, and they also have good refines now, like with Ducil. So all 4 Hounds in my opinion got solid weapons for a free-to-play unit. Compared to whatever free-to-play units used to get before them, at least they are able to function with their well-allocated stat spread. And Marnie and Griss in particular basically have Emblem Roy Ring and Emblem Celica Ring built in their weapon, which makes them even better. So coming back to Griss, he does have Mirror Strike 2 at 4-star and then Attack Resistance Tempo 3 at 5-star. So this is going to be amazing for the bridge fodder if you want to fodder off Arlen or Fallen Veil or Mythic Veil. So this is a decent scale, but there are definitely much better slot B scale that you can run on a unit like this. And overall, if you're going to be investing into Griss, then going with the attack IV is going to be important because he has got a player phase brave weapon. Killing the enemies is extremely important. And then if you want to ascend an asset, you could go with resistance. And overall, Griss is a pretty good free-to-play unit who has got high attack, has got insane warping, and also insane canto for an infantry unit. And it also has good synergy with the Lin ring sniping. And because he doesn't need the Celica ring or Sigurd ring, and because he doesn't want to run Marth ring because it will result in -8 damage when he triggers a special, his ring slot is kind of flexible. So right now, Lin ring is his best ring. But in the future, as we get better emblem rings, he's going to be able to easily equip them without much of an opportunity cost because of his preferred weapon. But unfortunately, he does not have any kind of true damage built in his weapon. So you could take a look at many of the premium brave weapon units that we have gotten in the last year or even before that, and many of them would have some true damage, at least like 7 true damage. Ninja Celine has got a lot of true damage. Then we've got Ninja Lucina. So that kind of true damage is needed on top of this kind of brave weapon. Brave weapon is good and has been good, but now you also need the true damage to kill the flat damage reduction monsters. It is just not enough to have the brave effect. So I wish he had at least some true damage because you're going to be completely relying on his passives to stack that up. And like I said, the warp blocking is getting common with Barricade, Higher Ground, Lower Ground, and we're going to be getting Newer Nidhogger in the Hero Rises banner next month. So, you know, many people are going to be pulling for her, and she's got Higher Ground in her base kit. So it's not going to be all that uncommon to see this. So you may need to run Pass in the slot B or maybe Pass in the Sacred Seal if we ever get it. Unfortunately, Griss does not score well in Arena. Despite being such a good combat unit, he would have made the life of many of the Arena players a lot easier if he scored a bit better. So he scores lower than Cyril, and Cyril is basically the main range free-to-play unit that people invest in for Arena usage, and he scores same as Lumera and Holst, which are pretty old units. And then Panette, Marnie, and many of the other units are just better options for the scoring, and they also have good combat. So it is going to be hard to recommend to use him in Arena if you play Arena in any kind of serious capacity, because while he can make your matches easier with his combat, it doesn't matter much if you're not going to be going up from tier 19 to 20 or just staying in tier 20, and you'll definitely have a really hard time staying in tier 21. So the scoring is quite competitive. So you need to have good scoring Arena units to have a shot at that. And that's why Marnie is one of the most invested units in the game, because she is the highest scoring free-to-play unit in Arena, and she also has amazing combat. Now, if you're going to be building a team around Griss, then you could try and give him some kind of visible status support. So because he can debuff the enemies, you could also try and double down on it with Foe Penalty Doubler of Fallen Lloyd or Winter Hortensia. Hortensia can debuff the enemies even further, and then Emblem Lin gives him the Preempt Pulse, which can help him trigger his specials easily, and she also gives you Desperation status. So if you have Sly Mirror, then you can easily quad attack if an enemy does not have Hardy Bearing. The new Valentine Dimitri does provide you with the null penalties and the special charges status, so it can help a brave weapon user like Griss if he runs a tempo skill. And Newer Nidhogger is going to be giving you the damage reduction piercing status, so if you don't run any kind of piercing skill on Griss, then this can come in handy. And she also gives you the Dosage status and the Hexblade status. Now, because he's a brave attacking unit, you certainly need to help him with the support to boost up his damage output, and Ninja Lucina is one of the best support units in the game for a reason. Now, even though Griss can inflict the exposure status on the enemy with his ploy skills, that is going to be getting completely cleansed by Freyr. So Lucina can come in and then debuff the enemy with her detect skill in middle of the turn, and also give Griss the Future Witness status, which can give you Canto too. So it does give you another option of counter retreating, and you also get the player phase scowl effect, some stats, and that can help you in the player phase. Not to mention the positioning is a big help by Lucina because you can, just be closer to the enemy and then warp to them or even snipe them with your Lin Ring. I feel like Festival Nefni is a really underrated support unit because she can provide you with the Null Guard support. She also gives you the Preempt Pulse support, and she gives you the +10 true damage on your special triggers. So it's a pretty nice way of boosting up your damage. And then we have got Legendary Ira giving you the Dull All and the Potent status. So the Dull All can be helpful and Potent lets you hit 5 times. Rearmed Lucina and Catherine can provide you with the Treachery status, which can boost up your damage. And competitively, he is going to be mainly used as a Lin Ring sniper because of having a brave weapon and because being a player phase unit. So in Aether Raids offense, you should be using him in the light season because you don't want to use him against the anima teams, which are definitely going to be having Freyr. But even then, in many of the top tier dark teams, they're just going to be having off-season Freyr. But still, your best shot is using Rearmed Layla and inflicting the undefended and flash status so that Griss can easily snipe the enemies. And Ymir comes into the picture with Lin Ring sniping because Griss can hit really hard with Glacies, and if the enemy has got Hardy Bearing or they can survive, then she can give you the miracle so that Griss can survive and then quad attack the enemy and kill them. And Griss is not all that frail, so he can certainly survive. And Lorathor in Summoner Duels is going to be the main way where Griss is simply going to be able to snipe any kind of unit, as Lorathor forces the assigned decoy on the enemy, and he also inflicts the panic debuff on the enemy, which is also pretty nice. Bright Embla inflicts the undefended and the feud status, and she also gives you the special charges support, so it is perfect for him. And Thor, with her World Breaker remix, can also give you the Preempt Pulse and the special charges status in the combat. If you're going to be building up Griss on absolute budget, then you could just give him Savage Blow in the slot C. It is a decent player phase budget skill, and you can keep Glacies, and as I said, Lin Ring is his best ring right now. And you could run Attack Resistance Ideal or Stillwater to boost up his visible resistance. It's kind of up to you. Just keep in mind that he is going to be warping away from his allies, so something like a finished Sacred Seal might not be the best thing for him, and that's why going with the other Sacred Seals is going to be an option. And if you have the fodder from the Divine Codes, then you could make a budget build like this. So you could get Still Water from Ivy, and you also have Special Spiral 4 and Attack Resistance Ploy 3 in the Divine Codes. So at least you're able to ploy the enemy, get the piercing, and with Special Spiral, you can trigger Iceberg on your brave hits because of the Tempo Sacred Seal. So this is going to be helping him do a lot more damage, and this is the bare minimum build that you could run on him if you're going to be +10 merging. But obviously, it is going to be taking some premium fodder to reach his max potential. And a rearmed unit whose fodder Griss absolutely loves is Rearmed Lina. So she can give him Sly Mirror, which is his best Lottie skill, because not only it gives you a lot of attack and resistance in the combat in your player phase, but it also gives you the true damage on every single hit. So that is great for a brave attacking unit, and you also get the guaranteed follow-up attack, which means that even a slow unit like him can quad attack the enemy. And if you have the desperation status from something like a Firestorm Dancer, then you can just consecutively attack 4 times, which can be really fun. And because he doesn't have any kind of true damage in his weapon, Occultist Strike can at least be some kind of true damage that he could try and stack up with Sly Mirror. So it's mainly used for that. And then Ploy skill can make use of his high resistance, debuff the enemy, inflict the exposure status, which gives you even more true damage. So this is the budget premium build, I want to say, that you could try and get from Rearmed Lina. He doesn't really care much about her weapon, but the other skills can definitely work on him if you don't have the other premium fodder, which I'm about to go over. Glacies and Iceberg are going to be good special choices for him, even though these specials are not really all that premium. But if you've got a Mythic Rune, then Griss absolutely loves his fodder, and Rune is probably the best fodder unit that he could have on Griss, because he gives him his best Lottie skill and also his best Lottie skill in Pulse of Ploy at the same time. So the reason why Pulse of Ploy is an upgrade from the regular Ploy skills is because of the timing of the Lin Ring. It is activated on turn 2. So you're going to be having 1 cooldown flare, which you could trigger on your Brave attack because of the tempo skill. And that's why Pulse Deploy is so good. He already debuffs the enemy for the attack and resistance with his weapon, so this way you don't really have any kind of redundant debuff, and the Pulse Up effect is absolutely amazing for any of these lingering snipers. And because he already has the tier 3 version of the tempo skill, you could just upgrade it to tempo 4 from Arlen or Veils, and this can give you the 50% damage reduction piercing and also the null guard effect, which is really helpful with the nuking as I explained. I don't really like Flare all that much on him compared to Glacies or Iceberg. I think that Glacies is his best special because the units nowadays are so bulky with like 3-4 layers of flat damage reduction that you need that kind of overkill damage. Even a monster like Attuned Micaiah runs Astra as their special a lot of the times to kill the armor units. So Flare does not give you as much damage output as Glacies, but it does come with Runes fodder, so I guess you could try and run. And you could also run him with Resonance, make him the Cannon Griss with the Celica fodder, and this way you're able to get the 60% damage reduction piercing at max investment because he has got enough HP thankfully, and you also get the 12 true damage. So you can stack that up with Sly Mirror, and I kind of like Resonance a bit more than Tempo, but still these two slot B skills are going to be facing competition from the third slot B skill, which in my opinion is the one of the best ones. So Attack Resistance Discord and Pulse Deploy is going to be coming from Athos, and he loves that because he is able to inflict another status effect on the enemy. And now you would think that maybe Speed Resistance Discord is going to be better because he already debuffs the attack and resistance with his weapon. But the thing is that this kind of Attack Resistance Discord skill also gives you the in-combat debuffs, and it also gives you the true damage just like Resonance without costing you any kind of HP. And you can easily get the piercing if you run Tempo Echo as his attune skill, and you also get the full tempo effect. So this is a really great build that you could try and run with the fodder of Athos and also attune Bridget, and then you just need to get Crystalline Water from somewhere, and you're going to be having the cleansing to your attack and resistance, his two main stats, and that is important to debuff the enemies and make sure that your brave attacks don't suffer because of the attack debuffs. Another reason why many people are going to be choosing to run this build is because of the fact that he can inflict 4 debuff status on the enemy, and that is amazing because Ninja Celine and more importantly Attuned Micaiah are the meta cleansing units, and they can only cleanse 2 negative status effects, and it is based on a priority list. So when you inflict Sabotage with his weapon, Discord with his slot B, and Exposure and Ploy with his slot C, then you can see that Exposure and Sabotage are always going to be getting cleansed first, and your Discord and your Ploy status are going to be staying on the enemy. So this means that for your other skills, you're going to be able to make use of these debuffs, and if you run something like a Sly skill, then you easily get the debuffs on them. If you run Creation Pulse, you also are able to activate that. So this build not only makes productive use out of his incredibly high resistance, but also helps him overload these kinds of cleansers with a lot of these status effects and force them to cleanse the higher priority ones and let the other ones stay. If you don't want to run Pulse at Ploy, or if you just have another unit with some kind of Ploy skill, or you just do not have Pulse at Ploy, then Creation Pulse is also an option you could run because you just need another negative status effect on the enemy, and he already debuffs them for the Sabotage status, so you can easily trigger Creation Pulse and then get the -2 special jump or preempt pulse out of it, and this way you're able to trigger Iceberg on your Brave attack, and you can just stack up the true damage with Resonance and Sly Mirror. And Creation Pulse can be used in conjunction with many of the high cooldown specials like Glacies or Astra if you could try and pre-charge them, and then with the preempt pulse you're able to trigger it. And then the best build that you could run on Griss is by far a Lagoose Friend build. Now, it might seem a bit weird that we're running Lagoose Friend on a unit that doesn't even have any kind of flat damage reduction in his weapon, and he's there for the player phase nuking. But we're mainly running Lagoose Friend to make sure that he can have some extra bulk to survive enemies' counterattack and then quad attack them with the guaranteed follow-up attack of Slime Mirror. And Lagoo's Friend also gives you the -2 preempt pulse before foes attack. So this means that you can pre-charge your Glacies because of Pulse Deploy and Time Pulse Echo, and then after taking the hit from the enemy and because of the special jump or preempt pulse of Lagoo's Friend, you're able to have another Glacies that you can fire off on your quad attack. And you also get the full damage reduction piercing because of Lagoo's Friend. And as I've been saying before, I think that Glacies is his best special if you're able to get Pulse Deploy and the other important things, because you are going to be needing its insane damage output to kill a lot of the Far Saviors, which he might struggle against because his weapon doesn't have any kind of true damage. So you got to make sure that he could hit the hardest with his Brave weapon, and weirdly enough, Lagoo's Friend does help you with that because all of its effects are active in the player phase. Now, some of you might be thinking why I haven't mentioned Frost Moon yet. I've shown the fodder build from Aethos, I've shown a lot of builds, but still no mention of Frost Moon. And the reason being is that Frost Moon is simply not good on Griss because it will never give you preempt pulse if you have any kind of Brave effect or if you double the enemy. And Griss has got a permanent player phase Brave weapon, so he's not getting the preempt pulse out of it. And you do get the piercing out of Frost Moon, but you can just run other piercing skills like Resonance, Tempo Echo, even Attack Resistance Tempo in the slot bay. So the piercing of Frost Moon doesn't matter much because it is just gonna be a flexed up Glacies because it's just expensive, but functionally it does 10% less damage than Glacies. And I would rather not miss the kills because of that 10% damage differential. So that's why Glacies is something I would recommend if you're able to have some kind of piercing. If you have absolutely no piercing, then I guess you could use Frost Moon, but more than likely, if you have access to Frost Moon and that kind of fodder, then you probably have access to the other skills that I've shown on him. And for the ultimate damage, Glacies is going to be working fine. If you want a lower cooldown special, then Iceberg or Flare can be your options. Finally, because he has got such insane warping, I gotta mention Pass, and no, this is not ironic. Pass is a legitimate option that you could run on Griss because you want to get past the warp blocking of Barricade, Higher Ground, Lower Ground, and he does have the flexibility of doing it because you could get the piercing out of Tempo Echo and you get the piercing on every single hit, and you also get the full tempo effect. So something like this could be run in summoner duels where you're going to be seeing Nidhoggers and Lorathers all over the place. So they're going to be blocking your warping, and if they don't have counter control, then you're able to retreat pretty easily. And you can also have the option of sniping them with the Lin Ring. So Slime Mirror and Pulse Deploy, as I said, are his best slot A and slot C options, and that is going to be true for this kind of competitive game mode as well. Now that we've got all 4 Hounds, these are, in my opinion, the best builds that you could run on them. They definitely have, some other options, like you could have a mixed phase build with Mauvir with Momentum, or you could make Marnie into a Near Savior. There are definitely other options that you could try and do, but I think that these are the best ones, in my opinion, if you're a big Engage and 4 Hounds fan. All 4 of these actually have decent synergy with each other because Mauvir can take on the melee threats, Marnie is an insane Far Savior, and overall the best unit out of these 4. And Zephyr can nuke a bit as a flyer and also provide the guidance warping. And then Griss is going to be inflicting the pain by using his Brave weapon or by sniping with the Lin Ring or just warping into the face of the enemy. So I do like Lin Ring on him because you could avoid counter control by being far away from the enemy. If you're too much in the face of the enemy, then you will be having the threat of counter control just cancelling out the counter that he has got in his weapon. So hope this can help you, and I hope you all enjoyed my coverage. You can click the link on the screen right now to check out my breakdown of this aided Yunaka banner, and make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell because YouTube sub boxes are about as functional as my hopes of having Griss as a colorless mage. So with that said, let's see you guys next time. Thanks so much for watching and have a great day.